Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Today we'll be doing unit 7.2, which is about the alimentary canal. So, basically, I don't know how to draw properly, so just here. So, for food to benefit us, we need food for energy, right? For food to benefit us, we need to take it in, obviously, first. Obviously, you have to take it in first. Then we need to break it. If our main objective is the food going into our cells, right? For food to go into our cells, first it needs to be taken into the mouth, right? After being taken into the mouth, it needs to go to our stomach. It cannot go into our stomach unless it is broken down into smaller substances. So first it is taken in. Then it's broken down into smaller substances. Not soluble, insoluble, just broken down into smaller substances. To go down to our stomach. From our stomach, it needs to be broken down into soluble substances to be dissolved into the cells. Right? So let's say we have starch. Starch is not in that form. Obviously, let's say you have, we'll go with fats first. Let's say you have butter. Butter needs to be broken down first to make it into fats, right? Then fats cannot be taken in because they're not soluble. They cannot be taken into the cells. That's why they're broken down into glycerol and fatty acids. So your main objective is breaking down food into soluble substances, right? So then they can dissolve into the cells to benefit us. Now, from the beginning, first food is taken in, then it's broken down into smaller substances, then it's broken down into soluble substances, then either it goes to our cells, I'll do this in a different color, either it goes to our cells, and sometimes there's a possibility of food being there's a possibility of food being unable to digest or unable to be broken down. We call those undigested matter. It can also be called fiber. It can also be called roughage. Those are the three ways to name them. Now, food can either pass out or pass into cells. Alright? So now I'm going to name each of these steps. Alright? First, food is taken in. The taking in of food is called assimilation. Okay? Then, food needs to be broken down into smaller substances to pass to the stomach. Or through the esophagus, it needs to be small. The breaking down into smaller substances is called mechanical digestion. Now, then we need it to break down into soluble substances. We call this chemical digestion. Either it passes out or it passes into cells. Passing into cells, over here, sorry, it's called ingestion. This is ingestion. Sorry, this is ingestion. Just careful. And this is assimilation. If taking in is called ingestion, then taking out of cells. And what I mean by being taken out of cells, it means as feces. It is called ingestion. Now, each of these processes happen in different organs of your body. Ingestion happens in the mouth. Mechanical digestion happens in the mouth and stomach. We'll learn why it happens in the stomach in a few minutes. Chemical digestion happens in the stomach and the small intestine, and assimilation happens in the small intestine and also sometimes in the large intestine. Ingestion happens in the large intestine. That's what you need to know. And these are the notes that I made. You can take a screenshot of it. So, alimentary canal. It's where everything happens. It's where digestion takes place. It's the line. It's basically a tube that passes from the mouth, a long tube running from the mouth to the anus. Yeah, it's basically just a long tube running from the mouth to the anus. And basically it's just a short definition. Now, first, ingestion occurs. Food is taken into the alimentary canal. Second, digestion occurs. Large insoluble become smaller molecules. Absorbed. Small molecules are absorbed into the blood. Ingested. Food that could not be digested or absorbed is removed from the body. Okay? There are two digestion occurs in 2 steps. Mechanical digestion, I said that. Chemical digestion, I said that as well. These are the definitions in the syllabus and also in the Cambridge book, so it's important. Now, there are 7 types of I'll explain this over here. The 7 types of nutrients we learned. 7 types of nutrients which are essential to the body. So there's 7 types of nutrients which are essential to the body. There's water. I'll put a different color. Water, nutrients. Oh no. Water, minerals. Vitamins and fiber, and carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. All of these are simple substances. These are all simple substances or simple nutrients. However, these nutrients are they're not simple. They are polysaccharides. All 3 of them are polysaccharides. So they need to be broken down into simpler substances. These can pass out or pass into cells, except this one. This one is undigested matter. This is in its simplest form. This is also in its simplest form. These 2 are also in the simplest form. However, these 3 are not in the simplest form. So we need to break them down. How do you break down lipids? Or lipids can also be called fats. How can you break down lipids or fats? First, everything is it's taken into the mouth, right? This is your fat or lipid. Okay, it's taken into the mouth and it's broken down into smaller substances. Say it's broken down into smaller substances. Then it's broken down into smaller substances, right? Then it goes into the stomach. What happens in the stomach? There are bile salts. So bile salts act on these fat droplets. These words are really important. So bile salts act on the fat droplets, making them into smaller pieces. So they emulsify the fat droplets so that bile salts emulsify these fats or lipids and break them down into smaller pieces so they can be acted on by lipase easier, so that to give them a larger surface area to be acted upon by lipase. All right, now if we zoom in one of these molecules, one of these substances, you're gonna get this type of structure with 1 glycerol and 3 fatty acids. When acted upon by, now it's acted upon by lipase. Lipase, as we know from enzymes, it breaks down lipids into glycerol and fatty acids. At the end, you are going to have this one droplet is going to give you 1 glycerol and 3 fatty acids. So you just imagine the number of glycerol and fatty acids you will have at the end. So for lipids, all of this needs to happen. And bile salts, this happens in the stomach. Lipase, this happens in the small intestine. Okay, now it is not carbohydrates, proteins. Proteins, let's say you have this protein molecule. Protein molecule first, like fats, it's broken down into smaller substances. Okay? It's broken down into smaller substances. First it's taken in, as always, ingested. Then it's broken down into smaller substances in the mouth. So, mechanical digestion. Then it's taken to the stomach. What happens there? It's not like fats. In fats, you have to break it down by bile salts. In this, it's different. It is dissolved. Most of the substances are dissolved in the digestive juices. Well, what am I doing? Digestive juices. These are the digestive juices. Okay, if into digestive juices, if you zoom in one of these molecules, you will get a chain of amino acids. A chain of amino acid is known as a protein, right? So chains of amino acids, right? So a protein, to break it down, first it's broken down into the stomach by proteases. A protease breaks it down into polypeptides. Into polypeptides. If I add one more here. Into polypeptides. Now, these polypeptides also need to be broken down because they are not soluble. They are broken down first by proteases, then they're broken down by peptidases. Peptidase, and it breaks it down into amino acids, which are then assimilated. Protease breaks it down into polypeptides, and then peptidase breaks it down into amino acids. So protease breaks down proteins breaks down proteins into polypeptides. Peptidase breaks down polypeptides into amino acids. Okay, now the last thing is carbohydrates. Carbohydrate, it's almost the same thing as proteins. So first it's taken in, then it's broken down by mechanical digestion. Then it goes into the stomach where it is mixed with within digestive juices. Digestive juices. These are the digestive juices. So if you zoom in one of these molecules, you are going to get a chain of glucose molecules. You always go back to the simpler substances. Okay, so this is a starch molecule. Starch molecule, it's broken down. Okay, let's say this is a starch molecule because it's a polysaccharide. So it's a polysaccharide. Polysaccharides are broken down, so starch is broken down by amylase. It's broken down by amylase. And by amylase, it gives maltose. Maltose, it's a disaccharide. A disaccharide, it looks like this. It has two starch molecules. So a disaccharide like this. A disaccharide. And then a disaccharide needs to break down more. So it's broken down by maltase. Maltose is broken down by maltase to give glucose, which is the simplest molecule, like that. Okay. In summary, where is it? A lipid molecule needs to become fatty acids plus glycerol. That cannot happen in one step. It has to happen in many steps. So lipid becomes, or we can say fat becomes a lipid. Okay, by bile salts. I didn't need to. So fats need to become fatty acids and to make fats into fatty acids and glycerol, first you have to make, it's in several steps, yeah. So fats into lipid. Fat into lipid, you use bile salts. Bile salts to make it into lipids. Then to make lipids into fatty acids and glycerol, you have to use lipase. Right? Now, carbohydrates have to become glucose. To make carbohydrates into glucose, first you have to make carbohydrates into maltose. This happens by using amylase. Maltose into glucose. This happens by using maltase. You have to use maltase. Now proteins into amino acids. For proteins into amino acids, first you have to make proteins into polypeptides. To do that, you will need proteases. And to make polypeptides into amino acids, you use peptidases. Yeah. So proteins to amino acids. This diagram would help a lot.